Let's close our eyes and pay attention to our breathing. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Pay attention to your posture. Pay attention to any discomforts in the body or any disturbing thoughts. Breathe in lots of positivity. And breathe out any discomforts. Breathe in love, faith, and integrity. Visualize spreading that love to everyone, including yourself. Have great faith in yourself and operate with integrity. Breathe out any adverse associations with love, compassion, faith, and integrity. Breathe in peace and prosperity. Set an intent to the universe that all have peace and prosperity. And breathe out any resistances to having peace and prosperity for self and others. Breathe in joy and care. Feel the joy in every cell of your body. Feel that excitement. Visualize sharing that excitement with everyone around. And breathe out any of the stagnant feelings stopping us from being in joyful state. Resume normal breathing. Invoke your angels, archangels, ancestors. Invoke Mahavatar Babaji, all the healing and loving masters and your deities. Invite all of them in your space. Greet them. Seek their blessings. Invoke your higher consciousness. Feel the alignment with your higher consciousness. Express your gratitude to your higher consciousness for guiding us every moment. Invoke radical consciousness and primary source energy. Thank Radical for all the affirmations and the statements. Thank Atman. Thank all our mentors. Express deep love and gratitude to all in the universe. Know that everyone in the universe is here to help us evolve and grow. Remain connected and become aware of the physical reality. The chill air, damp air, birds calling, your touch with your chair or earth. Become aware that we are spiritual beings chosen to have human experiences on this planet Earth. Let's ground ourselves to seek guidance for the day. Thank you. The chakra today is FLR11 Right, humble acceptance of shortcoming in intimacy chakra. Right, humble acceptance of shortcoming in intimacy chakra. Reminder to embrace change related to intimacy due to ego, pride, or righteousness. Ego, pride, or righteousness coming in the way of intimacy or close relationships. Defensive walls in intimate relationship. An association of intimate relationship with defensive games to mask ego, pride, and righteousness. Please ensure that your ego, pride, righteousness does not come in the way of intimacy. It is time for you to put your best foot forward by accepting and embracing your shortcomings and weaknesses, rather than using ego, pride, or righteousness as defense, which often remains counterproductive and create barriers preventing closeness and intimacy in your personal, social, political, or professional relationship. You need to learn to drop a defensive wall of ego, pride, and righteousness and put your best foot forward by embracing changes associated with intimacy. Let's do some R5 statements. Who will recite after me?
Asha, you go ahead.
Asha, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Will you be able to recite?
Yeah.
Okay. I find ego, pride, and righteousness inhibiting intimacy.
My ego.
I RFI my ego, pride, and righteousness inhibiting my intimacy.
I fight my ego, righteousness, and
Pride.
my pride.
Inhibiting intimacy.
Intimacy.
Inhibiting. Stopping me from having intimate relationships.
Stopping me from intimacy.
Yeah. I RFI my ego, pride, and righteousness, stopping me from having intimacy.
I archive my ego, pride, and righteousness, stopping me from intimacy.
I archive my ego, pride, and righteousness, stopping me from having intimacy.
I archive my ego, pride, and righteousness, stopping me from intimacy.
I archive my need for ego, pride, and righteousness.
I archive my need for ego, pride, and righteousness.
I archive my need for ego, pride, and righteousness.
I archive my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I archive my need for ego, pride, and righteousness.
I archive my need for ego, pride, and righteousness.
I archive my need for ego, pride, righteousness as my defense mechanisms.
I archive my need for the ego, pride, and righteousness
as my defense mechanisms.
Then, ma'am?
As my defense mechanisms.
As my defense mechanism.
I archive my ego, pride, and my need for ego, pride, and righteousness as my defense mechanisms.
I archive my need for ego, pride, and righteousness as my need for as my need for
as my
defense mechanism.
I archive my need for ego, pride, and righteousness as my defense mechanisms.
I archive my need for pride,
ego, and righteousness as my defense mechanisms. I archive my righteousness as my defense mechanism.
I archive my righteousness as defense mechanism.
I archive my righteousness as my 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 defense mechanism.
I archive my need for defending myself.
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 I admit my need to defend myself under the loving care of radical consciousness.
Yes, ma'am.
I admit my need to defend myself under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need for defend myself under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need to defend myself under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need to defend myself under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need to defend myself under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need for taking. Archive my need for.
I archive my need to defend myself.
I archive my need for. I need to defend myself
under the loving care of radical consciousness.
Under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to be righteous under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need to righteous under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to be righteous under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need for righteousness under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to be righteous under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I archive my need for righteousness under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my pride under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my pride under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my pride under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my pride under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my pride under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my pride under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to judge under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I find my need of judge under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to judge under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to judge under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to judge under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my need to judge under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my ego under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my ego under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my ego under the loving care of radical consciousness.
Admit my ego under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my ego under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my ego under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I solve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I solve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I dissolve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I dissolve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I resolve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I dissolve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I co-solve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I co-solve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I super-solve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I super-solve my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I awaken my vulnerability to be myself.
I awaken my vulnerability to myself.
I awaken my vulnerability to be myself.
I awaken my vulnerability
To be myself.
to be myself.
I awaken my vulnerability to be myself.
I awaken my vulnerability to myself.
Anything coming up?
And sorrow.
Hmm?
Sorrow.
Say that? Sorrow.
Yeah.
I archive my need for sorrow in my intimate relationships.
I archive my need for sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive my need for sorrow in my intimate relationships.
I archive my need of sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive my need for sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive my need of sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive the reason for my sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive the reason for sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive the reason for my sorrow in my intimate relationships.
I archive my need for sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive my need for sorrow in my intimate relationships.
I archive my need for sorrow in my intimate relationship.
I archive my oaths, vows, and promises.
I archive my oaths, verbs, and promises.
Stopping me from being happy in my intimate relationships.
Stopping me from happy in my intimate relationship.
I archive my ego, I archive my oaths, vows, and promises inhibiting intimate relationships.
I archive my oaths, vows, and promises in my intimate relationship.
I archive my oaths, vows, and promises inhibiting me from having intimate relationship.
I archive my oaths, vows, and promises
Inhibiting me from having intimate relationship.
inhibiting me in my intimate relationship.
I admit my sorrow under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my sorrow under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my sorrow under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my sorrow under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my sorrow under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I admit my sorrow under the loving care of radical consciousness.
I awaken my ability to transform sorrow into happiness.
I awaken
My ability
to
transform the sorrow.
To transform to sorrow.
I awaken my ability to transform the sorrow.
I awaken my ability to transform to sorrow.
I awaken my ability to transform my sorrow.
I awaken my ability to transform my sorrow.
How is that?
It's slight lighter, ma'am.
Okay, what's going on right now?
Now, ma'am, is better and looking for love from everyone, ma'am. It's a very.
I find my need for love.
I find my need for love.
I find my need for love.
I find my need for love, support.
I find my need to love myself.
I find my need to love myself. I find my need to love myself. I find my need to love myself. I find my need to love myself. I find my need to love myself. I find my need to love myself.
I find my need to support myself.
I find my need to support myself. I find my need to support myself. I find my need to support myself. I find my support. Ma'am, taking for granted.
I find my ego, pride, and righteousness.
I find my ego, pride, and righteousness
inhibiting me from loving myself.
Inhibiting me from loving myself.
I find my ego, pride, and righteousness inhibiting me from loving myself.
Inhibiting me from loving myself.
I find my ego, pride, and righteousness inhibiting me from loving myself.
I find ego, pride, and righteousness inhibiting me from loving myself.
See, when I support myself, when I love myself, that is mirrored by the people around us. So naturally, we will be loved and we will be respected and we will not be taken for granted. Okay. But in this whole process, again, this comes to being connected to the source. When I'm connected to my source, then I feel supported, then I feel loved, then I feel taken care of by the universe, no matter what I'm going through. So I need to connect with myself deep within, with my divinity inside, with the prime resource energy. Right? It is like a child, a baby. When mother is around, the baby is not scared of anything. But when mother is away, the child feels scared, unsafe, alone, not cared for, ignored, abandoned. So there is unconditional support that we have available to us, provided we connect to that. Any thoughts?
Yes, ma'am.
So I awaken, I think what we had affirmation yesterday. I connect with my source with full faith.
I,
to
I
love
connect
myself.
I connect with my source with full faith to love myself.
I connect with my source with full faith to love myself.
I connect with source with full faith to love myself.
I connect with my source with full faith to love myself.
I connect with source with full faith to love myself.
What's happening? Yeah, we'll stay with this thought today.
Yeah, ma'am.
We'll
I
keep,
connect with source with full faith to love myself. Is it correct?
I connect with full faith to my source
I connect with full faith to my source.
or to my divinity within. You can say whatever feels right. Divinity within, to the prime resource energy, to my higher consciousness, who are providing us the support all the time, provided we become aware of it. Right now, we are kind of lost, with intimate relationship. My boss doesn't do it, my spouse doesn't do it, my child doesn't do it. And I need it from, again, another person who is very limited, just like us. When I am limited on resource, what can I give you? I'm also looking for love. I'm also looking for attention. Only when I am overflowing with love, with compassion, then I can give some to somebody else. And that only the prime resource energy has, ever loving, full of compassion for everyone. And I need to connect with that. Okay, if you have any your own, some master that you trust in, believe in, any God that you trust and believe in, just connect to them and surrender everything. I mean, don't try to get anything from another limited being. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Lakshmi, any thoughts?
Yeah, ma'am. I just felt there is a need for dependency also in our intimate relationships. So
Yeah, dependency again, because I don't trust myself.
yeah, ma'am.
Interdependency is okay, that I
Mm-hmm.
do this and you do that. That is for convenience.
Yes.
But when I'm looking for this love, support, again, that is also interdependent, sort of, but other person may not have that to give it to us.
True.
So when I'm hanging on to that one person only to give me, definitely I'm going to suffer.
Yes, ma'am.
So I need to reach out. We do that in the physical world all the time. We go to this vegetable mandi and we want tomatoes,
Yes.
the green ones. And if it is not there, we go to the next mandi.
Yes.
Right? We do that.
Yeah.
But we don't do that with relationship. We think, okay, spouse is supposed to give us, boss is supposed to give us the raise. Children
Yes.
are supposed to give us love, attention or respect us. We define this is all conditioning, and it is ingrained so deeply in us. It is, if you start working one at a time, it will take us lifetime or lifetimes.
Agreed.
So, right. So it's just better to connect to that resource where we know we can get anything, everything, anytime, every time.
Yeah. Whenever we need, it will
Yeah,
be like provided to us, like
correct.
always there.
Always there, 24/7.
Yeah.
Now with physical, I mean, human relationships, we need to look at when they're awake, when they're in good mood, are they fed well, are they hungry? I mean,
Yes.
we have to balance so many things,
Yeah,
right?
ma'am.
But this resource is available to us, provided I tap into it. I think
Yeah.
what came up yesterday, being neutral observer, things
Yes.
are happening for our good, know that.
Yeah, we know
Um,
everything, but we don't uh, spare time to connect with the divinity within. That's why we are not able to access to the sources which are
Correct,
already available for us.
correct. There is
So
one
just
beautiful thing that BK
mm,
Shivani told the other day. She said,
mm,
before you start any task,
mm,
take 1 minute break.
yeah,
Just reflect upon, okay, I'm done with the recitation today. What went well? What did not go well? And before I
mm,
get into going to work, what can I
mm,
take from this one thing today and try to apply that? And again, when I'm trying to go from one task to another task at work, make that a habit. Of course, it will take time,
yeah.
but some phone reminders or something, okay,
Mm,
just drop everything, what's going on in my head right now. Because I'm
yeah,
always judging, I'm always comparing, I'm always, ego, pride, righteousness is playing all the time.
true.
Um,
Yeah.
Then what we have to do, ma'am? What did BK Simani ma'am said?
She said, just take 1 minute, reflect.
Yeah, every hour they say after every hour, 1 minute, like
Just 1 minute.
pause.
Yeah, before you starting next task, and now I'll be rushing out to take shower. So take 1 minute before taking the shower. Okay, shower is going to clean me. Shower is going to refresh me. Shower is going to help me get ready for the day. Thank you, water. Thank you, bucket. Thank you, whatever.
Mm.
And just be in that gratitude mode all the time. Then next task, it need not be 1 hour. I come out, there will be breakfast or I have to make breakfast. Thank you, the gas. Thank you, the dishes. Thank you, the food.
Yeah,
You know,
nowadays so multitasking has spoiled us.
yes, yes. And we don't multitask thanking universe.
Yeah, because that time we
Again,
are so much diverted in doing the task that we are not able to be thankful even.
right. I think
And no,
just
yeah,
this,
ma'am.
mental japa, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Somewhere, what am I doing? Then you can say, oh, I have to thank my universe.
Yes, exactly.
May help. But
Yeah.
reminders, I have on my table,
Mm,
again, there was beautiful quote that I saw, no meditation, no
yeah.
life. You don't
Yes.
understand. But KNOW, no meditation, then you will know life. So
No
that
life.
meditation is not sit and with eyes closed for 1 hour, 2 hours, every second, every minute.
Yeah.
Okay, just knowing myself, what's happening in my head. Am I in gratitude? Am I thanking?
Yeah.
Am
Every
I
moment we should be
vulnerable?
in awareness, right, ma'am?
That's it. Yeah. So it's good. Sometimes I used to wear chappals in the house because I don't
Mm,
like any dust sticking to my feet.
mm,
But now I take it off because every time the dust sticks,
mm,
I stop because I have to clean it. I
mm.
stop, and that is when I'll say, okay, thank you. Because that's what they say. In American tribes, they people go on the horse ride to when they have their cattle out for grazing. So they put this bandana, they tie a kerchief around their nose and tie it in the back. So when they ride on the horse, the bandana falls off because of the wind. So they stop. That is a reflection. They stop to tie it back again. So we have to create some
Okay.
deliberate stops, like if you're wearing dupatta and every time it drops off, okay, when you're putting it properly, that is an reminder for me
Mm.
to get connected with myself.
Yeah.
Or every
Reminders are
time,
really needed.
yeah, until it becomes a habit.
Yes.
Because we are doing so many things, and best thing is to keep watching our thoughts. Am I loving myself? Am I connecting with myself? Am I being a neutral observer? Keep checking.
Yeah.
Maybe you write post-its and put it on your mirror, in your closet, whatever works,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Alarms, every hour alarm in the
Alarms,
mobile
yeah.
also.
Right, whatever works. So we'll practice that today.
Yes,
And
definitely.
catch up tomorrow.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much, ma'am.
Thank you all very much.